there's been a lot of grief in a very short amount of time. There's been a lot of challenges, tests, opportunities, and there's been a lot of truth that has unpacked itself and revealed itself. A lot of loss, a lot of space cleared. I'm still integrating that. Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to another coffee talk. It's my afternoon coffee of the day. I am getting I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm getting so good at mastering a new nap routine that might allow me to hang out here more often without my baby in my hands. Not that I hated doing the coffee talks with Landon in my hands. It's just a lot easier. So I want to dive into the healing mantra of the week. But before I do, I wanted today's talk to be a bit more of an open book. I'm already catching myself second guess. So I'm just going to try and flow with my thoughts and say what I have already previously in my head was like, okay, I feel like this is the talk we need to have today. Not overthink myself, which I'm already doing a terrible job at. A huge thank you to Blue Land for sponsoring today's Coffee Talk podcast episode. I don't know about you, but I don't have the time to be researching every single product that crosses over the threshold of my house. And so switching over to Blue Land was such a game changer for me because I can trust all of the products that I'm getting from Blue Land to know that they are people friendly and that they are planet friendly. I switched over to them back in December. All of their stuff is vegan, non-GMO, no chlorine, no bleaches, no phthalates, no VOCs, basically what I'm getting at is their products are not only clean, but they're also safe for your skin, for your children. If you use their laundry detergent, which is what I recently switched over to, I stocked all of the way up. Their spring bloom scent smells so good. It is not overwhelming, but at the same time, it smells so fresh. We also use their hand soap and their dishwasher pods, and everything comes in little tablet form or in reusable packaging or recyclable packaging. So there's no plastic and no waste. And the best part about Blue Land is not only are they effective, but they are affordable. For instance, just for the refill tablets on the hand soap, it's $2.25. Now, where can you find a hand soap that is $2.25, but also that you can match a scent for every season, for every month, even if you wanted to. And now that it's warm out too, putting out the clothes on the line outside and smelling the spring bloom scent off of the clothes from using the spring bloom laundry pods, life-changing. My clothes have never smelled so good, and they can actually get the stains out of my kids' clothes. So it's just a win-win. Check out the link in the description notes of today's episode for 15% off. And a huge thank you again to Blue Land for sponsoring today's coffee talk. Now back to our conversation. I had recently received a comment from a member of the coffee club that I host on the Kalyn's Coffee Talk YouTube channel. I had posted it doesn't matter what I posted. Anyway, long short of it was that they expressed with, I think, as much kindness as they could, that they felt like they were watching me struggle intensely and that they subscribed and became a member for my vulnerability and for my ability to host and open conversations with a sense of rawness, which is always my intention, but also with a sense of vulnerability. And I've been sitting with this comment for a while, and I just paraphrased that terribly, by the way. There was a lot more to the comment, but the part of the comment that I've been sitting with for a few days is the request for vulnerability and for what's going on behind the scenes, and also the observation that I am struggling more intensely than I might be letting on. And so I feel a little silly doing a life update because a couple talks ago, I did a life update and I was sitting with that. And honestly, I haven't gone back and watched what I even said since reading this comment, which it may have done me justice to do so before sitting down today. The only thing is you have to get so strategic with your time. And when you're juggling a baby. So as soon as he fell asleep, I just set up my camera and made my coffee to sit down and have this talk. So I don't have time. I feel like I don't have time to go back and watch what I said, but I do know that it has been my intention over the last few weeks to be honest about the fact that this is a really hard and stressful season of my life. Also, that two truths can be true, that while it is stress, it's a lot of sleeplessness, it's a lot of responsibility that I'm carrying and a lot of things that I am managing and that I don't do a great job every day. And I've been trying to be vulnerable about the fact that I don't want to say that I'm struggling intensely. I wouldn't say that you're wrong. Like, I wouldn't say the person that commented that was wrong. I would just reframe it. Personally, I don't see it as struggling intensely so much as I'm grieving a lot and handling a lot at the same time. And in this season of life, this most recent season of my life, I've learned the lesson that multiple things can be true at once. So while I can have days where I absolutely do struggle, I don't claim it as a struggling season. If I zoom out, I also can see how this is a very hard season, but I also don't want that to take away from the fact that this is also a very beautiful season. It's also a very humbling season. There's a lot of opportunity in this season of my life right now, and I'm doing my best to show up and give myself grace and be as honest as I can be without giving every minute detail to the ways that I might be struggling. And it's not even the ways that I might be like, I could literally tell you that I'm tired. I could tell you that I'm learning how to balance and juggle many things at once. I can tell you that I've lost a lot of people and I've lost or let go of my business. I tried to rebrand freshly postpartum, which is just not something you do. And also without even really knowing who I was, I was going through so much shifting and changing when my first came that I don't feel like it was the time to rebrand for me. I think I did it right. I think I could not have done a better job than I've done all of the way up to today. And so to address perhaps the elephant in the room, or if anybody has been sensing my struggle, I, for one, have not been trying to hide it. I've not been trying to play it off like I'm not struggling. I also am holding space that while some days, and especially strings of days in a row, can be very difficult and weigh on me and take a lot out of me, I also am so aware of the beautiful little bubble that my life is in right now, with my youngest being still in the baby phase and with there being these moments, and again, strings of moments where things feel so warm and things feel so like I feel so full. I feel so fulfilled. My life feels so full. And I'm doing the best that I can to validate that it is hard and validate, even if you're watching and you see how exhausted I can be or feel, or maybe you're sensing how the days that are really hard and that I still show up while I'm in the midst of it being really hard. But at the same time, I'm very grateful. And I'm really cautious right now not to sound like or string this into some kind of toxic positivity. That's, again, not my intention. What you're sensing is, yes, of course, just the natural tiredness that comes from fresh motherhood to a little babe, and also juggling two that are only 2 years apart, and navigating responsibilities with a partner, and also balancing not losing myself and filling up my own cup and keeping myself full and taking care of my own health, because nobody can do that part for you. Like, we all have to take care of our own health. At the end of the day, no one's going to make me sleep more. No one's going to make me drink more water. Nobody's going to make me take more breaks but me. And so I'm learning how to strengthen that voice inside, that part of my intuition. And the baby is awake right as I was about to get to the good stuff. Where was I? I feel an urge to say first that I know that what I'm about to explain is not unique to me. I'm not the only person experiencing grief. And so when I talk about this, I don't do so with the air of woe is me, or wow, I'm really catching myself here, just basically saying that I don't want to come across like a victim. I'm not a victim to any of my circumstances. However, I am grieving. a lot. There's a lot of grief that I've been processing, a lot of loss that I've been processing, a lot of truths that I'm even not grieving, even future versions of my life that I'm grieving, an old version of me that I'm grieving, the world at large, and just what's going on globally, I feel has been weighing on me. And so, yeah, I'm grieving. I have been nursing somewhat of a broken heart. No, not somewhat. I've been brokenhearted. And it's not one thing that has broken my heart, but many things. It takes me years to grieve things. And then once I do, I feel like I actually do it. I will always have a sense of sentimentality over things that ever mattered to me, even once, or something that, broke my heart before, but I evolved from. Like, I'll always hold a space for it. However, once I grieve something, I grieve it. It's done. And I really try to walk into my new sense of truth on the other side of loss, or my new sense of space and what I've evolved or how I've evolved from the things that I've lost. But it takes me a while to grieve things. I think it takes everyone a while to grieve things. I just don't think that we talk about grief maybe often, or at least I don't see it talked about often. And I don't know if I'm even going to do a good job at talking about it today, but I am hurting. But at the same time, I'm happy, and I don't know, I'm exhausted. And at the same time, I've never felt more alive. I've never felt more full of love. And I'm trying to honor all of those things while also honor the privacy of my family and the privacy of my kids. That's the biggest thing, is that even if another part of the comment that was brought up is that, like, I don't talk about Ryan and I don't mention Ryan or my relationship often. And my relationship has gone through a lot in a short amount of time. We've gone through, since I've met Ryan, the types of milestones that we have gone through are usually spread out over years. And we went through them so fast and in such a compact amount of time that, of course, it is going to bring things to the surface. And I stand by, I had a talk a few weeks ago where I think it was right around Valentine's Day, because I was answering conversations about relationships. And one of the things that I do really stand by is that in a relationship, if you have two people that are, one, willing to take accountability for their words and their actions, even if their intentions don't align, like even if your words and actions hurt somebody, if you can at least take accountability for the things you say and do, and empathize with the way that it might hurt somebody, even if your intention isn't to hurt somebody. I think that that's a very important aspect of a relationship. That, and then also you have to be able to work together. You have to be able to hold space for each other. I'm really good at working on things and holding space for other people. I am learning in this season of life how to demand that in return. And it just so happens that it is my partner today that is the person that I am working on that life lesson with. And I don't air those things out online, of course. And I'm not even I don't get into the details of that either, because when I think about my kids growing up, and I think about myself when I was growing up, if the internet existed in the way that it does today, I think my kids deserve to grow up and have their own opinions formed on their mom and their dad. I mean, it's going to be hard because I obviously have such a blueprint on the internet, but I'm doing the best that I can to keep my kids' internet footprint small as possible, so that they get to decide who they are and how they want to express themselves to the world, not through my storytelling, not through my documentation. The same goes for Ryan. I think Ryan should be able to express who he is through his own documentation, his own words, and not through me. And all I intend to do when I come online is share my thoughts and share my perspective of my life. And of course, there are people in my life, like my kids and like my partner, who I am going to at times show, because they are such huge aspects of my life. But I don't share, I do my best not to share their details, is what I'm getting at. My brain feels so soft, so much softer than it used to be. I don't feel as sharp as I used to be. So even communication sometimes isn't my strong suit in this season of life, which is hilarious, because I host a talking podcast where I'm using words to try and communicate thoughts and expressions. But again, you're only getting my thoughts, my expressions, my perspective. And also there's just things I don't know, right? There's just things that I'm still grieving and learning for myself. And so I tend to, whether it is grief or actually any big emotion, I tend to take my time with it, take some time to integrate it into my knowing and into my being before I feel like I can take a strong stance or tell my story with it. This comment too, the commenter had said that they were aware that this was their parasocial experience to want to explain to me how they were feeling. And I value that. I honor that. And I respect that. And again, it is my side of the parasocial experience is, of course people are going to be curious what's going on in this person's relationship, what's going on. You know, I know that there's no sense of owing anybody on the internet. Either way, I don't owe anybody an explanation as to what's going on in my life, in my heart, in my anything, and in my mental health, my general health. I don't owe anybody those things, and nobody owes me their unwavering support or to come and click on the things that I create or to watch those things. And yet at the same time, I do value the exchange of energy there. I value anybody, especially this person in particular was a member. So they were not only just paying their attention to my content, they were also paying into extra bonus content and into the community that I've built. And that is important to me. And so I honor that energy exchange. And so even though I'm like, yes, of course, the private details of my life, I do not owe to anybody, or especially on the internet, at the same time, I do feel that I owe a sense of understanding and a sense of empathy for that feeling of like, there seems to be more of a disconnect. You like just wanting to know more about what's going on in someone's life that you followed for so long online. And when I've been so open and sharing online, I think about it in like my aspect of Taylor Swift, where it's like Taylor Swift has been so openly expressive for so long in her music that it would feel weird if all of a sudden her music shifted and it felt like there was parts of the story she was leaving out, which honestly, that's not a good example because she's very good at being very poetically, she's very good at telling a story through like symbols and such. And all of this to say that there's been a lot of grief in a very short amount of time. There's been a lot of challenges, tests, opportunities in a short amount of time in my life. And there's been a lot of truth that has unpacked itself and revealed itself. A lot of loss, a lot of space cleared. And I'm still integrating that. And I'm still better understanding not only the systems in place at large. And when I think about society, when I think about even just gender norms or traditional roles that people play in a household, in a relationship, in parenting, as I better understand the patterns that might create a mold or create a framework that gets very, very easy to fall into. And then also at the same time, better understand myself, better understand my true essence, my intuition, the things that call to me, the things that feel like a full body yes, a full body, this is right for me, this is what I enjoy to do, this feels wrong to me, this is where my boundaries feel like they're being crossed, or this is where I feel like I'm not being honored, whether it's in a relationship or in the ways that I choose to show up, or my own personal decision making, or taking care of myself, or just what I say yes to. I'm learning those things and how they work together and how that manifests into a reality, and processing what's showing up in life and better understanding how to navigate those things, and then also how to navigate them while it's not just me on the ship anymore. I've been the captain of my own ship for many years. I'm very, very good at being on my own and independent. And I've learned, actually, if I might say this out loud, I'm very, very good at being a mom. I'm very fulfilled by being a mom. I'm sometimes not always the best at, you know what? I don't claim that, actually. I'm very, very good as a partner as well. But with multiple people on my ship now, that means that I'm going to perhaps tread more carefully. There's just a lot of navigation happening there, and I'm doing my best. And again, I feel in hindsight like I couldn't do better than I've done, and this is even another attempt at that. Trying my best to even weed out the parts that are me, the parts that are feel true to me versus what I'm being fed and told, and as like the shoulds of life, you know? Maybe you don't know, but a good example of that would be like, for instance, I feel wrong, and I hate that I feel wrong, that naturally I love being in charge in my household of things like the food. And so I do the meal planning, I do the groceries, I do the cooking. The part of me that feels wrong about that, it feels like if I say that, then perhaps, or maybe, you know what, actually, if I'm going to be very honest, part of the comment made me feel like I was being a victim to my relationship. Like I was exhausting myself without any help from my partner. And there are days that is true, but there are also days that isn't true. And that my partner, Orion, does show up. There's just, it gets so complicated because there are obviously so many layers to it that are private and personal. And also there's so much of it that is just me learning where I stand and how I want to stand and who I am in a co-piloting ship, you know? And as my partner, as Ryan and I figure that out as partners, co-captaining a ship, I don't think it's right for me to also talk about it publicly. That's what I'm getting at. And the other aspect of it, the other part that I really just wanted to explain or perhaps communicate or express today is that it's so much more than that, though. It's so much more than just figuring out my relationship and how we can co-captain in a way that helps, that raises healthy children, that raises happy, healthy, resilient children that will leave a better mark on the planet. That's my goal, with open minds and open imagination and pure hearts, and that will show up as brightly as they need to be for who they've come to the earth to be. That is my goal as a mom, as a parent, and with my partner as we raise children together, but also as we navigate our relationship together. Like, there's wounds there, there's attachment wounds there. There is so much there that is obviously real and rich in terms of that is literally the bare bones truth of integrating your life with somebody. At the same time, it doesn't feel appropriate to like expose all of those details and talk about or air them out online. And I just want to make it clear that the sense around me, maybe it's an aura, maybe it's an emotion, maybe it's just the exhaustion on my face, isn't just that. It's also so much grieving, so much. Like I'm grieving. There's a lot of grief, and it's not from one thing. And that is the elephant, I feel like, in the room, perhaps, that I haven't openly been like, there it is. And maybe I didn't even do a good job at just saying it there, but just to say, like, I get it. If you feel like there's an elephant in the room when you've been hanging out with me in my content lately, I hate that. I hate that would be a feeling that would come across on screen, because again, that's not my goal is to make anybody feel like, I don't know. No, it's not fun. I get it. It is not fun to watch somebody struggle. And I don't mean to openly struggle like that. Even saying that, it feels not uncomfortable. Like I'm okay with being vulnerable. I'm okay with being real about going through hard times. I guess it's just that like, I don't want it to come across like I'm a victim. Like I don't know. I don't know how, I guess I don't know because I don't know exactly how it's coming across to each person individually, and I can't control that. But I'll just say that my intention is to show up and to show as much grace for myself as I can. And this season of life, I can definitely say that it's a very, very, very hard lesson to learn, because I'm learning that it even has to happen before my kids. And it is that I have to learn how to center myself, because I am very, very good at centering those around me and that I care about. I love very deeply. And so I devote myself very deeply to caring for those that I love. And I don't find that to be a flaw, but I have learned that I actually do myself and those I love so much better by centering my love with myself and then allowing it to overflow into others. And there are going to be times, personally, I feel for me, there are going to be times where I do need to center my children. That actually does make a lot of sense. For instance, this season of life, when Easton's getting a bit older now, so it breaks my heart in a beautiful way that I don't have to center him as much, that it's okay for mom to fill up her cup a bit. So I actually can be so interactive and teaching him and guiding him and also following him and following his curiosities and interests. I do that so much better when I come to him with a full cup. My youngest, who is only 7 months right now, I'm still breastfeeding. There are going to be times where I have to center him before I center myself. And I think that's just parenthood. But for the most part, even in parenthood, in general, in love, in any loving relationship, we all do ourselves, especially, and I don't mean to gender norm this either, but I think that it is especially crucial for women because we tend to be communal beings. We tend to prioritize the community. We prioritize the collective, you prioritize. It doesn't need to be community at large or collective at large either. Like for me, even just prioritizing my family over my own needs, my family needs over my own needs, that is naturally, it comes to me naturally, but it actually does me, and then it ripples out into them harm. It does harm because I end up depleting myself. And so I am learning in this season of life how to center myself, because when I center and pour that love into myself, which is again, it's not an easy thing to do. And again, systemically, I think that makes sense. Even just looking at the type of reality we live in, why it makes sense that women struggle to pour unconditional love into themselves. We have been conditioned not to love ourselves. Most people have, not to gender norm, but specifically my experience as a woman and as a little girl and as a teenage girl and going into motherhood, going into womanhood, is I feel like a lot of the messaging out in the world, and also just my own karmic patterns that I've inherited from my lineage of women, and also from, again, just growing up in the modern day. Like there's a lot of conditioning there not to love yourself. There's a lot of conditioning there, or even a lot of attachment wounds there that, oh, maybe if I center other people and I love them and I pour into them enough, they'll pour back into me. And it's just never, I'm learning that is never, I have learned that is not the way. The best thing I think I can do for myself and my family, the best thing I think any woman can do, any person can do listening to this today, if you want to genuinely honor and show up for the people you love, is to pour it into yourself first so that your cup gets full and then you overflow it. The part that gets tricky with that in the modern age is because we tiptoe a line of a very narcissistic generation. And so what is pouring into yourself versus being narcissistic, and that's a tricky situation for me too, because I have firsthand experience with extreme narcissism. So I guess for me, the way that I balance that is, are my basic needs met? In a given day, what am I thinking about? Or just catching myself, whose feelings am I prioritizing right now? And it's not that those other feelings, like for instance, I'll use my partner as an example. If there's a moment that I catch myself prioritizing his comfort over my own, it's not that I don't care about his comfort. I'm just going to center my comfort first. Like, how does my nervous system feel right now? I'm going to ground my nervous system so that I can actually comfortably observe somebody else's nervous system or my children's nervous system, and then see, oh, okay, is there a good way that I could actually be of support to them? So yeah, I'm learning a lot in this season of life, and I hope that clears some of the air. I hope that releases some of the good old elephant in the room. I'm going to leave the comment section open. If you have any questions, if there's something in particular that has been, I don't know, like maybe I need to do an updated Q&A that gets real on these types of things, because just having that one comment alone made me realize that all of our perspectives on things are obviously can be so different, or the things that we sense, or the things that we feel. And I really wanted to, in my response to that comment too, I said, like, I hear you and I see you and I honor what you're saying, because you're not wrong. However, I wonder if your perspective on it is, and they had said too, that they felt like they were maybe projecting into their own perspective or what they were feeling or sensing. And I guess I just want to open up an opportunity. I'll leave this as a Q&A in the comment section. And if the comments are easy enough for me to just type out, I'll just type them out. But if I can gather enough questions in the comment section about life, I don't know, whatever you want to know, I mean, don't hold back. Like, let's just go for it. And I will obviously, while standing in the boundaries I've already explained today, talk about it as much as I can and talk about it from my own perspective and talk about it from a place of like the lessons being learned, not so much about the specific private details of my life, I will totally do that, because I do feel there is a lot there that isn't a unique experience. There's a lot there that can be told without getting too detailed, or without putting stuff on the internet that I don't want my kids to grow up and be like, Mom, I really wish you didn't do that. I'm gonna go hang out with this guy, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye, everyone.